What's going on, guys? It's your boy Soupy. We are back with episode 13 of Like to Talk Sports. That's our other host over there, Mario. Mario, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Tired as hell. That's what I
I
definitely
feel
can
that. I feel that. I
say.
took a nap before this, but I'm ready to talk. You ready to talk?
I'm ready to talk.
All right, let's do this.
Sports is my life. Sleep can wait. I say that now and then I really want to sleep. But anyway, uh, we got mostly football. We only got one topic that isn't football, and that's about the NBA. So we'll talk about that first. We got NBA player reps expected to approve NBA restart on December 22nd, 3 days before Christmas. Merry early Christmas, I guess you could say. So here we go. We got the NBA players rep expected to approve December 22nd restart. It's only going to be a 22 game season. And Mario, I gotta ask you, man, what do you think of this? You excited? I know I'm
Yeah, you
excited.
you glitched out a little bit right there, but you're good right
Oh,
now. You're good.
we good?
So if
Okay.
I'm late, my bad, but you're good. So yeah. I think it's kind of odd, to be honest. I think it's odd that they're starting so soon and so close to Christmas too. I thought a good time for them. I thought would have to like start like get for basketball players, and they usually are. They're usually always in shape, but to like get used to everything, I think like February or March would have been a good time to start. Do I have a problem with them starting December 22nd? Not really. No. That's what they want, and that's what they're gonna shoot for, and that's fine. The one thing though I'll say that like might be an issue is, and we've seen this in the NFL preseason, and especially when you have rookies coming in. So the NBA draft is November 18th.
18th.
Yeah, it's November 18th, and that gives them barely over a month to get acquainted and learn the playbook and learn the way that the team plays and exactly to figure out what their role is going to be. And I don't know if a little bit over a month is going to give these rookies is going to help these rookies. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
not having a preseason is kind of concerning.
Mm.
Um, I assume that when it starts on December 22nd, I assume that's when they're going to just start the regular season off right away. But we saw what happened with the NFL. The NFL didn't want a preseason, and a lot of teams, if you're looking at them, a lot of teams, it took them some time to go into that next year. And I don't expect to see like the true contenders in the NBA actually perform well until maybe January or early February. Because remember, it is the NBA. You do play once every like 2 or 3 days. So most likely they're gonna get used to things a lot quicker than the NFL will. So, but I think it's odd that they're starting this early, especially when the Lakers won the NBA championship literally 2 months ago.
I,
So
I can see where you're coming from. I agree. I want to theorize for a second. Or actually, I don't even think this is a theory. I think this is a fact. It could be a fact. I don't know. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think they're starting up at this point in time because if you think about it, when you said like March, April, I think the end of April is when the NBA playoffs. So somewhere around there, end of April. Am I around that? I'm around that, right?
mhm.
Yeah. So I think that's why they're doing that because they want to return back. Because if you think about, all of summer, all the leagues were shut down. The NBA started up, the MLB started up with their 60 game season, which that alone was pretty odd. And then, well, I mean, the NHL and the MLB, no, excuse me, not the MLB, the NBA really didn't need to completely finish their seasons because when COVID hit and took over the world, they were practically already almost done with their season, which is why the NBA did something like the round robin and the NBA had I forgot what they had before their playoff bubble started. I forgot what they called it. I know the NBA called it the round robin. Uh just to finish the teams who are definitely making the playoffs finish their seasons. But I think in this situation, I think they're starting it as early as they are so they can get back on track because usually the NBA season ends in like middle of June, maybe a little earlier than that, with the NBA finals and all of that. So I think it is odd to see. I would have expected them to at least start it after New Year's. I wouldn't say March or April, to be honest with you. It's a little too late, in my opinion. I think January, at least January, like right after New Year's in January. They should have definitely started then because I think because think about it, everybody's going to be taking a lot of time off in the holidays. Those are the holidays where the players spend time with their family the most. Christmas, New Year's. Who doesn't spend time with their family at that time? I think it's odd. I find it more odd about when they started it or when it's going to start than in comparison to how many games they're having. Because it's not the first time we've seen a wacky season. The MLB basically started that one, but I'm excited nonetheless. I'm just happy not football, basketball is coming back again.
I agree. But there's still a lot of questions that I have that
Oh
they haven't
yeah,
answered yet. So
I
like,
think it's going to concern me because like it did with the NFL. There was no preseason, and that's my theory as to why all these players are getting injured, especially the stars. And
right.
I question the same exact thing with the NHL and the MLB, especially the NBA too. NBA has some pretty horrific injuries. If you look at a lot of their injuries, it's one of the most brutal sports to get injured in. And I'm kind of worried. I'm excited, but I'm worried too mainly for the injuries.
Well, I'll say this. Injuries are a concern, but to me, that's not the biggest concern. The biggest concern to me is exactly how this season is going to work. So, like, for instance, are you going to go back to a bubble? Okay, and that's one thing. And if you go back to a bubble, is there going to be an all-star game? An all-star weekend is one of the most watched sports events in sports. If you're not going to be in a bubble, what's the protocol for traveling and everything like that? Because if you look, the NFL is having some problems with COVID and stuff too, and the NBA plays a lot more. They play a lot more recently. They play 2 games quicker than some teams play one, and so in the NFL. So with that being said, how are you going to travel? How are you gonna avoid COVID when you're on the travel? If you stay in the bubble, there's going to be a lot of players who might not want to stay in the bubble again. This wasn't a good. Not many players, I don't think, wanted to stay in the bubble. A lot of players were opting once the death of I want to say George Floyd happened. A lot of them were thinking about opting out. So like, it,
I have a theory, and it's just my theory. I think what's going to end up happening, they're going to do what the MLB did when they restarted their season. That the East teams stayed playing the East, the Central teams stayed playing the Central teams, the West teams stayed playing the West teams. They didn't go out any of that. I think that's what's going to end up happening here. You got remember the NBA does have divisions. That's something I forget
but
myself,
even
but
that
that's
that
just a
wasn't
theory. I don't know.
right. But even that wasn't fully effective neither.
Yeah,
So
right.
so that's another big problem, and like
I
it's
think
going it's going to be tough. And if you are not in a bubble, if you're playing home games and away games, actual home games and away games, how many fans are going to be invited? How many fans are going to be able to participate? All
right.
this stuff is going to take into factor, and it's questions that we haven't even had answered yet, and it's questions I don't even know if they have answers to yet. So I'm interested to see the game start, but again, I don't want to hear a bunch of players getting COVID and then they can't play, and then a lot of games are going to be postponed. Because let me tell you something: if the NBA starts having problems with COVID, it's going to be a lot messier than the NFL. A lot
Absolutely.
messier. There's less teams. I mean, is not less teams. Yeah, there's less teams.
Yeah,
There's
let's
less
see.
players in the league. You know what I'm saying? So like
Right.
that you play more often. So I can see a lot of problems with this. But I have a lot. Adam Silver has always, when there's problems or controversy in his league, he always stepped up. I think he is the best commissioner in sports, and so I got a lot of trust in Adam Silver that he's going to keep this game safe. There's no need for me not to have any trust in him because he's done it so many times.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to add to this?
No, I do not.
Okay, let's get to football. Let's start with the
Players of the week.
start with yeah. You want to start the players of the week?
Yeah, let's do that. You take the 4.
Okay, so players of the week. This week it went to AFC Offensive Player of the Week was Patrick Mahomes. He had 416 yards passing. He had 73.8% completion percentage. He was 31 for 42. He had 144.4 passer rating. NFC Offensive Player of the Week goes to Dalvin Cook. He had 163 rushing yards, 4 total touchdowns, 3 rushing, 1 passing. 1 reception TD, and he had 63 yards receiving. So let's start with the offense. What do you think about that, Nate? Do you think they deserved it?
Oh, it's 100%. There's no argument.
I agree with that.
You and I said it. You and I said it last episode. These guys are going to be players of the week, without a doubt. No question about it. There's no argument about it. I don't even need to read the stats. It's just that simple.
Right, and the NFC, the only person, like, there were guys who had games, but the only person who I could think was even close to have an NFC
DK
offensive
Metcalf.
DK Metcalf. And again, I think 163 beats 161 in my opinion. And so with that being said, I think it's a lot harder to get 163 rushing yards than it is to get 161 passing yards. Because if you really think about it, you're running down the field 10 yards, and then the quarterback puts you in your hand. There's 10 yards right there. Dalvin Cook actually has to work for his 10 yards. So actually has to do a lot more work than a receiver would for his 10 yards, in my opinion. And not only that, his stats were just better,
Mm.
the DK. So I gotta give. I think Dalvin Cook definitely deserved NFC Offensive Player of the Week. Patrick Mahomes, I think he definitely deserved AFC Offensive Player of
There's
the
just
Week.
no argument.
Yeah, like I don't think like this year it was a little lackluster. I think in my opinion for like offenses and everything this week, and I think Patrick Mahomes was the one who brung it.
I agree.
Now going to defense, Bobby Wagner was NFC Defensive Player of the Week. He had 11 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. Stephon Tua was AFC Defensive Player of the Week. He had 9 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. So out of those two, Nate, do you think they deserved it out of everybody else?
I think it's solid. I think it's pretty solid.
I
They
think
did
so
their
too.
job. They did
I
their
think so
job as
too. Yeah.
defenders. They both of them had 3 tackles for losses. They had a couple sacks. That's a big deal.
Right.
You need defenders that need to go after the quarterback like that and are willing to make
Right.
the
Right. And the
offense drop the
Seahawks and the
ball.
Seahawks again won by 10. And I like to think they won by 10 because of Bobby Wagner. He was a big part of his, like DK Metcalf was on the other side of the ball, but Bobby Wagner was a big part of that with those stats. And the Steelers, remember, they only won by 4. And I think Stephon Tua was a real game changer right
Mm,
there when it came to that. I think some guys that could have deserved it on the NFC side. I think one guy who could have got it was Eric Kendricks. I'll go to his stats real quick. But Eric Kendricks could have had it, but I don't think he deserved it over Bobby Wagner, I'm gonna be honest. Um and there was a guy on the I believe I want to say Colts. But I could be wrong. Let me just double check. Um I want to say it's Colts, but like he had like the guy I'm thinking of had 2 sacks and like I think like 8 or 9 tackles. So like even that doesn't beat Bobby Wagner. Tyquan Lewis on the Colts. Well, he only had 3 tackles, but he had 2 sacks and 2 tackles for 2 sacks. So like I still don't think that beats Bobby Wagner. So I agree with Bobby Wagner being an NFC Player of
mm,
the Week, Defensive Player of the Week. And as for in Stephon Tuitt, there wasn't a person in the AFC. I don't think that really performed. Like
I
I said,
agree.
Tyquan Lewis was like, in my opinion, the closest one, but those 3 tackles are not going to beat 9. So,
Mm,
and then last but not least, special teamers, Jakeem Grant was AFC Special Teamer of the Week. He had an 88-yard punt return for a touchdown, and then he added a 45-yard kick return to it. And then NFC Special Teamer of the Week goes to Ryan Sukup. He went 4 for 4 on his field goals. His long was 43. He had 1 extra point. He had 13 total points in that Buccaneers game, which we will get to after this topic. So, do you think they deserve those honors, Nate?
I think it's pretty solid. Again, Ryan School, 13 points as a kicker. You don't really see that a lot with a kicker. Usually they only score like 3 or 6 a game, but 13 is a big deal. And as for Jakeem Grant, 88 punt yard return, 45-yard kick returns, it's crazy. I mean, I can't think
Yeah,
of another kicker that can do both in one damn game. I mean, it's pretty solid choices. I like them. I agree with them.
I agree. I agree with them too. Out of all these players, in my opinion, I'm gonna give the I'm gonna give it to. I think Patrick Mahomes was the best one out there, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
I'm a,
because it's Patrick Mahomes.
yeah, yeah. I think he had the 5 TDs added to it too. So like, I think Patrick Mahomes had the best performance. Dalvin Cook was very close though. Dalvin Cook set a franchise record for the Minnesota Vikings last game. He was the first player I think to have 4 TDs since in the Minnesota Vikings franchise since Ahmad Rashad in 1979. So he definitely gets some credit too. But I'm gonna go. But I think Patrick Mahomes had the better game. But we expect this from Patrick Mahomes. We expect Patrick Mahomes to play this way like every single game. And so with that being said, I think Patrick Mahomes played better than. I think Patrick Mahomes was a little more impressive than Dalvin Cook, just a little, not a lot. But credit to all these guys. I think they did a good job on this list today.
I know some people are probably gonna be like, "Oh, but Patrick Mahomes did that against the Jets. The Jets are always losers." Let me say something. And I said this in my one of the previous episodes, and I said this towards the Panthers. It doesn't matter who you're facing. You got a job to do. It's not like in the other three leagues where you have more than 80, 100 games a season. You're playing 16 games a season in the NFL. Every game that you play matters. So before people come up and say, "Oh yeah, it was against the Jets," just keep that in mind. There's a 16 game season in the NFL. You got to do every game matters. Every game counts. Not to say that in other sports it doesn't, but primarily in the NFL it counts more.
Yeah, you kind of glitched out a lot there, but
Yeah,
I heard everything you said. It just glitched out a little
yeah,
bits and pieces.
it told me that my internet is unstable. I don't know what's going on.
Right, right. But yeah, I agree with this list. I think all these players really deserved it this week. I can't really make an argument for anybody else. And and I think they did a good job this week. I don't think it's really I don't think it's really a controversy, or I don't really think there's an argument here. You
Mm.
could argue DK with Dalvin, but again, I think Dalvin did better. And in my opinion, I think Patrick Mahomes had the best game. But people can make that argument that Jets, like you said, and Dalvin was against the Packers, which was obviously a better team than the Jets. But I don't got a problem with this list.
Mm. Okay.
All right, let's go on football, Nate.
Mhm.
So the Buccaneers and the Giants, Nate. Let's talk about that.
Want to say that again because you lagged.
Did you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right. I said let's talk about the Bucks and the Giants. Let's talk about that game. Your reactions.
I want to tell you something because you said the Bucks had the number one defense in before the Monday Night Football game as of that particular point in time, and they didn't play like the number one defense in my opinion. They didn't. They really didn't. And I'm not giving discredit to anybody. I really am not. But that doesn't fly. I mean, it's against the. I know I'm one to say that every game counts and it does, but the Giants don't have a great defense, and the fact that they're excuse me, offense, and the fact that the Bucks defense were lacking the way they were, just that's worrisome. That's something they gotta deal with because you can't, especially as a team that's expected to make the playoffs and it's a team that is a team favorite to win the Super Bowl. You can't your defense can't be playing like that. But aside from the defense, I want to go to some stats on the Bucks. Tom Brady went 28 for 40 with two completion attempts with 279 yards, two touchdowns. Mike Evans had three receptions, 59 yards. He had 55 yards. Excuse me. He had a touchdown. Gronk had four receptions, 41 yards. He had a touchdown too. Ronald Jones went 7 for 23 yards and a fumble. That's good. It's decent. Um, Carlton Davis had an interception. Sean Murphy Bunting had an interception. Um, I'll go to the Giants because there's a lot of names on here. I'll just Giants. Daniel Jones went 25 41, 256 yards, two touchdowns, two interceptions. All right, not bad, but could be better. Uh, Wayne Gallman had a touchdown. Golden Tate had a touchdown with 18 passing yards. Deion Lewis had a reception and a touchdown. So I mean, oh yeah, Coughlin had a sack. Well, Leonard Williams had a sack. So I mean, it's not bad. I
Well,
can't
I'll
say
say this. Let me explain this to you. I'm gonna explain who did bad. Ronald Jones did terror. Ronald Jones was bad. Ronald Jones cannot have 7 rushes for 23 yards. That's barely over 3 yards per carry. It is, and the fumble makes it even worse. Like
I agree.
you cannot fumble that ball. Um, I mean, Mike Evans and Gronk, they did what they were supposed to do. Tom Brady had a good game. I'll give him credit. Carlton Davis got that interception. Sean Murphy Bunting had an interception. JPP had the sack with the 2 tackles for loss. Devin White had that sack, and Dominic Sue had that sack. Ryan Sukup, obviously, we talked about him being special teamers of the week. And honestly, the Bucks defense, they didn't really play that bad. You know, I don't really think they played that bad. Like they did decent things scoring wise. They could have did more. Like stopping the other team from scoring. Yeah, they could have did a little bit more, but I don't think they played that bad defensively. I think I think the Giants as a collective team, I think they did decent offensively to keep themselves in that game. And it's exactly what we were talking about. They're gonna have to take advantage of their possessions and opportunities. And Daniel Jones let go of a couple opportunities. Obviously, he had 2 interceptions, but you know, he had 2 TDs with that. He had 256 yards. So he did all right. He did all right. And you know, that Giants team, they hung in there. But obviously it came down to the last play. And it came down to that controversial pass interference, or if you want to call it a pass interference. But that's all. But I want to hear your thoughts, Nate. What do you think about that call?
That should have been pass interference. It's that
Okay.
simple. He was holding him. I mean, let me go to the footage on my TV real quick because I seen the play, but I just want to see it again just to make sure I'm correct. Sorry if you hear that, by the way. See if I can find it somewhere. I know I can. But like he was like like the ball was being thrown, right? And he was defending him. And it looked like he was holding him. To be honest, you know, there it is. And I'm pretty sure that they didn't call a pass interference because there was no time left on the clock. It don't matter to me. I think this play right here, I'm about to go to it. That should have been a pass interference if I'm being honest, because this was his hands ready to catch it, right? That was his hand. You look at it. If I don't know if you're looking, but this was his hands, right, ready to
I'm
catch the
looking.
ball, because it was a bad throw, so he kind of had to like tuck in a little bit. This was the defender holding, like the arm is like wrapped around his other 2 arms. I personally think that should have been a pass interference. I really think so. Just the way he. Well, let me go back. Damn, everything doesn't want to work today. All right, let's see. Let's see this. All right, but
I
yeah,
think
it's like
personally, I agree that should have been pass interference, but I think it was more of a bump. If you ask me, I think he bumps into him more than he does hold. Because if so, I'm watching the play right now. So
watching the
basically,
player now too.
yeah, you have 28 seconds left. They're going for the 2-point conversion, a big play. And if you, it looks like he bumps into him. It looks like and originally they do throw the flag, and then they reverse it and they say there's no flag. He and I'm gonna just say this. And the guy who committed the flag was Antoine Winfield Jr. He's a rookie. I'm a huge fan of his dad. His dad used to be a Minnesota Vikings corner. His son's amazing. His son's a great player. You know, I'm not taking nothing away from his son, but honestly, that could have been called. And personally, I think, and personally, I think that was a pass interference. It was a tough call, but I think it was a pass interference only for the fact that when you bump into him, that the guy got away from him, and he comes running up to him, and at the last second he bumps into him. He and at the last second he bumps into him. First of all, I want to say this. I want to say good play recognition by Antoine Winfield, because before the guy even makes his move, before the guy even gets into the end zone, if you watch Antoine Winfield, as soon as that ball is snapped, he knows exactly where to go. And I got to give him credit on that. That is good play recognition by a defensive player. If you look at him, he's in the middle of the end zone, and the play is all the way to the right. So as soon as that ball is hiked, he hustles all the way to the right, and he's fast enough to get right there. You know, the running back had a shorter distance to get to the right than Antoine Winfield Jr. did, and Antoine Winfield Jr. got there. Now, here's what I think he could have done. Instead of just bump into him, I think if Antoine Winfield put a hand out and deflected it, I think that would have been a better play. But what happened was he bumped into him. What happened was the ball came, he ran into him, and they threw the flag, but then they reversed it after. It's a tough call, but I think just because he bumped into him and the guy fell, I think personally I should be a pass interference.
I think it wasn't a tough call at all. I think that should have been called a pass interference no matter what. I mean, I get he bumped into him, but that's still an interference.
No, I get what you're saying. I
Yeah.
get what you're no, I get what you're saying. It is. It's a tough. The reason why it's such a tough call is because the time that the football got there, in my opinion. So for
Oh,
instance, it's not like. For instance, it's not like the ball is. So for instance, it's not like he bumps into him and the guy falls while Daniel Jones is like while the ball is like not even past the line of scrimmage yet. The ball is past the line of scrimmage. It is about to go into his hands. It is about to go into his hands, and he bumps and he runs into him. Not accidentally, it's obviously on purpose. But the thing is, what makes this a pass interference? What makes this a pass interference is that again he runs into him. I think that and what makes it so tough is the little time that is between the ball, the receiver, and the defender. But if you go back to that play, if you look at that play originally, Antoine Winfield had amazing play recognition. You look at
yeah.
him, he's right. You look at him, he's if you look at the play, I'll show where he originally was. So if you look right there, you can kind of see 31.
Yeah.
If you look at him, he's in the middle of the field. That ball is going to the right. So if you look, like I'll pause this like you can see it. So like if you look at the play,
Hmm.
already he knows exactly where he's going to be. He went from the middle, sprinted to the so that was play recognition. He knew where the guy was going to be because you don't just run there. You have to know exactly where he's going to be. But right there is where the play. Right there is where it happens. And honestly, to me, that's similar. That's very similar to if he were to just tackle him.
Right. Right.
Before the ball got there. And that's why I think it should be a pass interference. But Antoine Winfield as a player, I really like this guy. I really like him. I liked his father when he was on the Vikings. I like his son. His son, stuff loves, but I got to give a little bit of credit to Antoine Winfield Jr. for actually reading the play.
I agree. I agree. Um, I had nothing else to add to that. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
No, I just want to say both teams I think played decently well. I really don't think like there was. I really both teams I think played decently well overall. It came down to the last play. Buccaneers got the call, and that's how it ended.
Mm.
All
All right.
right. So now,
I'll take over the next few topics, but before we do, let's take a break real quick. We'll be right back. All right, we are back with more All You Can Talk Sports. Our apologies for that last break. We're having a bit of a technical difficulties when it comes to Wi-Fi because nothing wants to work today. But we got it all figured out. We're all good. With that said, we got a lot of COVID stuff going on in football. I'll start with John Elway and Joe Ellis. The Broncos general manager John Elway and the Broncos CEO Joe Ellis both tested positive for COVID. They've experienced mild symptoms and both have not been in close contact with any of the Broncos players and coaches in recent days, according to the Broncos team sources. Your thoughts, Mario?
I mean, obviously we hope that John Elway and Joe Ellis, hopefully we make a recovery. We say this about anybody who has like, who ends up having any type of like hardship that comes to them or like obstacles. So we always like, want to encourage positivity. But I'll say this: there is good news that none of them were in contact with the players, so the players can actually run normally. Not many of the players are gonna be affected by this. Good thing John Elway and Joe Ellis, like I said, that's the one thing I want to go to, that they were not in contact with any players within the time that they had COVID, so the players are not really affected by it, which is good. Um, Honestly, this is the facility was closed for players and team employees only. The team told the coaches to work from home. I like how the Broncos took safety protocols, even though it was a very low risk type of situation. But I still like how the Broncos took safety protocols just to make sure that like everybody's safe in the next game. Um, it kind of slows them down a little bit because the coaches aren't really there. But again, we're in we're going into week 9. The players should know exactly what they need to do by now.
I agree. I agree. And I obviously hope John Elway and Joe Ellis get better. This is tough. This is strange. These are strange times. Everybody needs to stick together. We all gotta be united as one. Um, while we're on the topic of this, the 49ers also shut down their facilities because their wide receiver, Kendrick Bourne, tested positive. They shut down all their facilities. And what really surprises me is that the game against Green Bay tomorrow is still on. Um, what do you think about that, Mario? Do you think they should have rescheduled the game or no?
No, no, I don't think it's one player. Well, again, hope Kendrick Bourne gets better. Hope he recovers from whatever this is. If he's feeling symptoms, hope he gets better. Even if not, I hope he does. But the one thing I looked at is it's only one player. You know what I'm saying? And it's one less. It's one player less than what you want, but it's only one player. I think them shutting down the facility, getting their players tested so they know exactly how many players actually have this disease. You know,
Right.
I think that's a good idea. All the negative players go back, and then business as usual. Because remember, they got to suit up tomorrow, and so I expect results to be done tomorrow, and so to be out there tomorrow, and I expect the game in the Niners in Green Bay to be played. If this was more than one player, I can understand postponing the game, but again, it's only one player, and so the show must go on. Whoever Kendrick Bourne might not play, but whoever's supposed to take his spot needs to show up and show out. And I'm expecting some football Thursday night.
Speaking of Thursday night, you want to talk about that tomorrow? Or you want to talk about that today?
We'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll talk
All right,
about that
all
tomorrow.
right, we'll wait for that tomorrow. I hope Kendrick Bourne gets better. Hopefully nobody else gets tested. Now, our last topic of the day also has something to do with COVID. Matthew Stafford, Detroit Lions quarterback, is put on a COVID-19 list, a reserve list, because he came in close contact with someone who tested positive, and is eligible to play Sunday versus the Vikings if he tests negative 5 times. So I want to ask you this, and this is just a possibility question. This isn't really like a confirmed question type thing, if you get what I mean by that. But if
I
if
understand.
Matt Stafford does not play Sunday, what does that mean for the Lions?
Well, they got to go on their backup, and I think it's crucial that Matt Stafford does play because I'm not trashing whoever the second stringer is. I'm not doing that, but they need Matt Stafford. I'm gonna be honest. This is both teams. The Vikings are looking to make a come up. The Lions have had two losses in a row now, so I believe they have two losses in a row
No,
now.
no, they beat. Wait, did they? Yeah, they beat the Falcons last week. Did they? Not this past week. The week 7.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
yeah,
Yeah, you're right. No, wait.
yeah. They beat the Falcons. Did they? Wait, did they? Let me go back to my notes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They did. They did
Okay,
because
all right.
Todd Gurley got that touchdown and kind of yeah. All right, so they barely beat the Falcons. I mean, we didn't, but they barely did. And then they lose this week. Lions like it's tough, and this is a game because whoever loses this game, the Vikings are in last place in that division right now, and the Lions are a game away from last place, and so if the Vikings win this, they start making that climb, and the one thing you don't want to do is let your division rivals start climbing. So Matt Stafford needs to play this game. They're expecting him to play Sunday. They're
That
expecting
is
him
if he tests negative 5 times. That's what I
test
read.
negative 5 times, and that's important. And it's important that he does. And I want to say it wasn't a guy, it wasn't a teammate. It was I don't know exactly who it was, but it was a non-teammate or a non-member of the team. So I say right for now, what you do is you don't show up to practice, you stay quarantined, which is probably what he's doing. Get your negative test negative 5 times, and then you'll be ready for Sunday. But I think for the Lions, it's crucial that Matt Stafford plays this game.
I agree. I agree. You know, it 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 sucks that it has to happen to him because, like you said, it's crucial for him that he needs to play. No, I'm not trying to dosh the backup, but like you said, Matt Stafford is the better option. He's a lot of people say he's not a good quarterback. I think otherwise. I think he's actually a really decent quarterback. It's just the team he plays for isn't serving him any justice. And I
I
think
agree.
and I think he's needed. I know it's against the Vikings. I'm sorry, Mario, but I still think he's needed nonetheless.
I agree. And even though I'm a Vikings fan, I never like even though the Lions are my rivals, I never had no problems with Matt Stafford. I always thought he was a down to earth, humble guy. I always thought he was a good quarterback. I always thought he had a great arm. And again, I hope he gets negative testing.
So do I. Um, you got anything else to add to these topics for today?
Nothing really. I think that's about it.
All right. Sorry in advance for the technical difficulties. We'll get them fixed next episode. Until then, though, thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoy our videos. Hit the like button as well. I'm your host, Soupy. That's your other host, Mario. And we'll be back tomorrow with episode 13 or 14, excuse me. Peace.